What's up, everybody? Little late night action here at the Fourth and Go Studios. It is Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, and I'm feeling dangerous because we just got a dub this weekend. Eagles 1-0 to start the season. I'm Dave Gluckman. That's Mark Tomasini. We are Philly Fourth and Go. 4 for 4, plus so much more here. I'll just give it to you, brother. What's up, Mark?
What up? What up? It's a winning Wednesday on all fronts. I mean, I don't think Phillies have lost a game since last week. Maybe one, possibly. Depends when. Oh, they lost to the Marlins that night, right?
Thursday or that night.
Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday, but then they swept the Nats. They've taken 2 from the Marlins. Eagles obviously took care of business on Sunday. A lot to talk about with that. So pretty good. Legit winning Wednesday. We don't have to do any more of these trying Tuesdays or, didn't quite make it Wednesdays. We got it. We're winning this Wednesday.
This is our show. This is our time. This is the time to shine, and we'll get right into it right away with the Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, I'm going to give you the quickest breakdown I can, and we're going to get into it more. We won. There's been so many years when we lost to bad teams. I can remember even Miami when they were really bad a year or two ago, and Fitzpatrick ate us up and ran some in. And when we lost to bad teams, it hurt, right? And all we said is if it was a win, then I would have felt better. I don't care how they won. But then this week we want style points. And I'm hearing a little bit more complaining that I probably think I should hear. We won, and I'm good with it. That's a team that's a little bit feisty, a little bit nasty. And that place was louder than, I've remembered it in the past, even though there was a good Eagles contingency in there. I take it with everything that I say here tonight and tell you, I'm proud of that win, and I'm good with that win. And I think it might embolden this team and give them a little bit of, tough skin going forward here. So that's just my quick take on it. I get it was 3 points, but if you look at some of the game script and some of the game flows, they never had like under 70% chance of winning that game for the whole second half. They were up 17 most of going into the middle of the, 2/3 into the fourth. Like, I'm good with it. I wanted to get your take just from the global perspective.
I'm a little more away from you, a little bit.
Fair.
Not complaining too much, but I got to say, here's what I'll say, and I think the big part of it is it's week 1. They didn't do a lot in preseason. It's something that this team just is the way they've chosen to go about it. I think there was some rust because when you look at it, there's a couple things that, look the same as last year. Looks like they didn't improve on. Looks like they need help with. Jalen played great. I'll be honest, in my home league, I drafted him as my fantasy quarterback because he did a lot of what I thought he was going to do. Pull the ball down and run. That's easy money in fantasy football. So I took advantage of that. And you and I, we've known this, not the biggest believers in Jalen, but it gives me a reason to root for him. You know what I mean? Having him there, and I know he's going to get me those QB points. That's one thing. So that's something that he hasn't fully developed from. And then the other thing that I saw, a lot of missed tackles, a lot of inopportunities made by the defense. Obviously, the interception, Kazir White batting it down to Bradbury's touchdown. It shows you they're ready to make plays, but they didn't get to the quarterback enough, and they missed a lot of tackles. So those things are what bothered me. Didn't look too different from last year. Like I said, that's my summation of what I think led me to feel this way. Maybe it was just first game jitters. Maybe it was just getting it out. I do think that they're probably going to play better, as they go forward and get more reps in. But those were the things that kind of stuck out to me as to where this team needs to get better if they really want to be a true contender this year.
Yeah, and I think where you sit is probably closer to where a lot of Philadelphians sit, and I get it, and I'm okay with it. But I also know that, they didn't tackle much in the preseason.
Right.
And they really didn't I hate to say this, but, I heard Sirianni saying this is false, and that's why I believe it's true, but they didn't condition much. I mean, if you're just not on the field and playing, you don't get that game. You can run laps all you want. You can get on the treadmill. You can do, your sprints, but, until you get in that game and really feel the pace, that conditioning just seemed a little off. It really did. So, from the tackling and conditioning perspective, that maybe I'm a little bit more concerned about, but then I think about that's what we're doing anymore in the NFL. I read a report today that said the NFL is pumped up because 50% less concussions during the preseason because they're wearing these big fungo helmets. And yeah, I get it. And it's really because people don't play. Let's be honest.
That's what it is.
That's what I don't.
You
Yeah,
take them off the field, you take the hitting out of it, then yeah, you're gonna have less concussions. Like, and I
yeah,
get it, I understand, but at some point, you can't go cold turkey into the first game of the season because then you see a lot of what happened. There were a bunch of times, like DeAndre Swift is really good. He's a top running
yeah.
back in this league, but he
Mhm.
also got bigger runs than he should have because
Well,
he was outmanning the Eagles. And then the first touchdown, I believe, by Jamal Williams. I mean, he was dead in the tracks on the 2-yard line, and he's able to come out of 3 guys and ends up wrapping his way into the end zone. That's what I was disappointed with.
yeah, and you have every right to be. And I just guess my side of the story is I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that was rust. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say that was
Oh,
not practicing as hard in the preseason, and let's get it rocking and rolling. And here's another thing that I didn't like, and why I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Jordan Davis played 22 snaps,
yeah.
and when he was in, they were able to be a little bit more effective against the run. If you're going to draft a guy in the first round and tell me that he can't play in pass down, so that where you tell me he can only play in first down and second and long, then I got a problem with that. I think that kid can play. It's going to be hard to say he's a 4-down player, but in the end, it's got to be more than 22% or 22 snaps. And I mean, I know N'Kobe only got 3. He really didn't get out there. I get that. That didn't really hurt them because I do think TJ Edwards and Kazir White played a really good game. But when you talk about running and how much room they had and how many tackles they broke, I think Jordan Davis can fix that pretty fast if you just figure out a way to get him in there.
Yes, that was my whole, hesitancy with them drafting him, is the fact that in college he never produced Georgia kept him almost off the field on 3rd down because they knew he doesn't get to the quarterback well. He's a great run stopper. He's a 1st and 2nd down lineman. Now, you're that big, you're that fast. You make it work. You find a way to make it work. You get the best out of this guy. If you're taking him a top 15 pick, he better be on the field for 3rd down moving forward. Like,
especially 3rd and short.
It might happen this week, but very soon. It better be the case because I think he can bring you more than what Fletcher Cox is bringing you. And Javon Hargrave, he's a shell of himself from last year. So,
he looked terrible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. A shell is a good way to put it. But so that's kind of my take. Yes, the defense, do I want to see them get sieved up like that and let up 35? No, absolutely not. Is Jared Goff a good quarterback in the NFL? No, absolutely not. And will we get, into some other situations? Will it be more challenging? Absolutely. And then I'll give you my positives of the game now. I tell you, AJ Brown stands at the top, and he's that guy. He's that guy, bro, and he's that dude. And what I like about him is he's that dude. And while he may know it, he's also a really good guy, man. He's out there. He's not banging his chest like T.O. It's a different type of I'm the number one and I'm really good, but I'm not going to stand on the Dallas Star and put a T out and an O. Like, it's not about A.J. Brown. Right. This guy really says it right and does it right. And it's about the team. And I love this guy from the start, from now, and then just watching last week. His ability to just be physical. There's 2 things it does. You want to man him up, tight on the line, he's going to beat you. Now you got to give him space because he just beat you on the line. Quick slants there, I'm taking it for 12. And if you can't tackle me, I'm taking it for 30. And then guess what I'm going to do? You come press me again, I'm going to go long and beat you for 55 right in your half. And he stood out to me the most. We knew he was good, right? We knew we paid for a lot, and we knew we gave him a big contract. Kid's good, and I just love his personality.
Yeah, A.J. Brown is everything that you want in a wide receiver. He's big, he's physical, he's fast. He made a lot of plays, and, it changes the dynamic of this offense. Jalen, because one of the issues that I had is Jalen doesn't throw the intermediate route well. A.J. Brown if you have AJ Brown, you can't not throw the intermediate route. Like that is now available to you. He is going to get those plays over the middle. I think that's humongous for Jalen Hurts, and him and Brown have this rapport together.
It's awesome.
Friends there. It works. The only thing I fear about that is if the other guys are not getting it. Like we've seen it before, the
okay.
whole when Carson only had eyes for Ertz, that type of thing. I don't, is that something that's going to bother Devontae Smith if he's not getting the ball? Because the reason why it's not as simple as that, I think I got to take it a step further here. The times that Hurts did try to get Smith the ball, they were few and far between. And it seemed like the defense was up on it. Like a lot of his plays were batted down when he was trying to go to Devontae Smith. Like it's just very.
Oh, it was rollouts. I think almost every play that he threw to him, it was a rollout. So yeah. Well, give me your other good. I mean, I know I stole the easy one, but give me another good that you saw on Sunday.
I mean, I gotta say, even though it's kind of it's a negative and positive.
I like it.
Jalen Hurts he didn't go through his progressions. I don't like that he didn't do that, but I'll say this: he made plays when they were needed most. And again, obviously, not the biggest believer in him, but he did whatever he had to do to get the first down, to get the plays.
Yeah.
So I have to give him a lot of credit that I think the mechanics still aren't there yet, but I think I saw that he's put the work in. I just need him to hang in there a little longer on the progressions, and I need him to let things come available first before taking off and running. But he made every play that he needed to make.
I agree. So here's the thing. Again, couple plays, Jalen, I think he missed some read opportunities that were open, and that's our biggest concern between me and you. It's not, as much as I have some arm talent concern, it's not as much that as he doesn't read the field well and he doesn't throw on time. When you can script him to his first read, like he did to AJ Brown, a couple slants, yes. Oh, dude's good, right?
Yeah.
But once he gets off that and then has to pump weight, it's over. But it did work out this week, and they did actually have a very good rush. Hutch was in there a lot, Hutchinson from Detroit, and he had to go, and he made the right decisions early. And I think that's really where you're hitting, and I agree with you. He made the right decisions almost every time, when to tuck it, when to rip it, and I agree there. AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, both good.
Another positive I'll say was, we'll see how long this lasts. Miles Sanders had a good day.
I thought that's where you were going with the first one. I did. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I was more focused on the Jalen Hurts side of things, but Miles Sanders, got in the end zone. 97 yards, 97 yards rushing. He made plays. He didn't give up on plays. He bounced when it was necessary, not because he had to. He ran physically. Again, if he stays healthy and we get this Miles Sanders, we're good. We're good here.
I know.
We got good Miles Sanders. We got a healthy, ready to go Miles Sanders.
And it confuses me a little bit because if you get the healthy, good Miles Sanders that we saw that has that first cut go, and where I thought Miles was fantastic was at the end of the game, that last drive. Gets bottled up for a second, then escapes for about 30, 35, and then knows the wherewithal not to get out of bounds, get down, and run the next set of downs. That was huge for us. And if we get that Miles Sanders, oh, man, that as much as I want to see Gainwell do it, I'm okay. I'm okay. And it was really cool to see that we had, 4 rushing touchdowns from 4 different players. I think it was Hurts, Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott snuck one in late. So that rushing attack is back. It's fierce. It's good. So I'm with you. That's another good spot. I'll give you one of my other good spots, and then we can go to the bad. From a defensive perspective, I just thought Kazir White was everything that I'm not used to seeing out there as a linebacker wearing Eagles jersey. Like, this guy was it, and it started on the first play of the game.
Yes.
And I remember vividly, they throw a little out route, from the backfield. I think it was to Swift. And this dude comes as a dart from the middle of the field, tackles him for no gain.
And we're sitting there. I think loss of a yard, probably.
Or loss for a yard. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, this is just not what I'm accustomed to. I'm used to seeing a white dude with long hair miss that. And then Swift is going for, and then he's playing in Bronco country right now, I think, or Seattle. Yeah, I think it's Bronco country. But Kazir White is good. And then you talked about the tip earlier, and that was fantastic. And Bradbury took it to the house, and that's great. But there were so many other just plays out there. I just said, this guy gets it. Like, he is a tackling machine, and I'm pumped.
On that pick, not only did he make the deflection, you see he set
Block.
up Bradbury with the block.
Yep.
He had a legit block. He turned 10 steps down the field. There was a lion who had the best opportunity to get him, and he locked him up. Like, it wasn't just I'm going to shove you. He like legit had him like an offensive line type of block, legal block, that gave Bradbury the go to get into the end zone like that. I think he's a very I think the Chargers, made a mistake in letting him go. Eagles, I hope this isn't, I think he's definitely much better, because I remember Eric Wilson from the Vikings last year was a guy that we picked up on the cheap. But Kazir White, I mean, he had 100. Wilson too, he had 100-something tackles, but it just seems like this guy is way more cerebral. He knows what he's doing out there. It's definitely a joy to see a linebacker who can move like that.
It's great. So we gave you 4 goods. I had Brown. I had White. Mark threw out Hurts and Sanders. Great week. Great win. Let's go to the bad. After we go to the bad, we're going to give you our play of the game. Mark, I'll lead off with the bad. And the bad for me, I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. This is just my eyes. But what the hell is Fletcher Cox even doing out there for however many plays he played? Because they were way more than I needed to see. The guy was on his back more than I really even noticed him trying to make a play. That is just, I went back and heard that he got $13 million this year. And I'm just like beside myself for the production that I saw and for how much he's pushed backwards on such key plays. Because like you said earlier, the running defense did concern us. Fletcher lined up at end. He lined up under the tackle, like under the center. It's just, we love him, right? We do. I mean, he was part of the Super Bowl winning team, but I think I'm getting a little too much Fletcher Cox than I really need right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they cut him as a roster salary move and then brought him back for 14 mil. I don't think there was much other interest in the move for him, at least close to that number. I feel like it was just a thing of Howie not wanting to let go of what they had before. I think Cox was the last player redrafted, if I'm not mistaken. Last first round pick that he drafted. And don't get me wrong, he was good, but he's been on the regression. It's been long enough now. Like, I was looking forward to them.
57%. He played 57% of snaps.
Yeah. Yeah, and he, he was the only play he had was him and Graham on that, combined sack. That was it. Everything else was, he didn't do anything. I'd never want to, because he's not going to lose his job. He's going to get somewhere else. But you could have done so much more with that $14 million this year.
Yep.
I think, you didn't have to go there. I mean, you had Hargrave, but even if you throw Hargrave out, because really Hargrave's my negative, and I'll get on to that.
Good.
But
here's your bad.
You bring Milton Williams and Jordan Davis in. Milton Williams can play both the outside and the inside. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's not as big of a body as the other guys, but give me that. And because they had other rotational players playing in there.
Yep.
Who was it? Was it Teron Jackson not Teron Jackson? The Tutupu guy, he was playing some.
Yep.
And then there was another guy, but you could move those bodies around, at least get some new fresh feet to start. But yeah, Javon Hargrave was my guy. Was my negative, kind of staying right there on the D line, interior defensive lineman. I mean, he couldn't tackle a piece of paper standing there with no wind. Like he really just I don't know what's happened with him. He goes from 8 sacks to start the season last year to milk carton status.
Yeah. I agree. I'll give you one more bad on my end, and I think this just wraps it up in general for how we feel. And you feel free if you want to add this as your other one. But Jonathan Gannon, listen, bro, we gave you a pass last year. We knew you had minimal talent to work with. Now you get this influx. We drafted talent for you, obviously, in the first round, then Nakobe later and some others. And then we just poured it in the defensive backfield with the safeties that we got from New Orleans. Like you said earlier, we just love Gardner Johnson, adding Bradbury. Just the pieces are there. We already talked about White. You added like 5-6 starters to this team. And you roll out with that, bud. Like if that is what your product is on defense, and you got interviewed for a head coaching job, really? I know it was your old team, Minnesota, but God, I gave it to you last year. You weren't good, but I gave you a benefit. If that's what you're going to give me, bro, this ain't going to last long. It's just not, and I'm not. I'm not going to be very patient with you anymore.
I'm actually going to take the opposite stance of you, in hopes that things change for the better. I agree where you're coming from. I think there were some slivers of opportunity where they brought the house and it worked, where you actually saw that they blitzed. They need to do more of that. I think that he needs to expand on that. If he does, that's good, because my negative is that they missed a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
Something I alluded to before. I think that they were actually in position to make plays. And I think they missed a lot of tackles. So if this is a problem that continues to go on, like, to me, I'm hesitant to jump down his throat right now. Again, I don't like that he retreated and they started coming back, but I'm telling you, they were in the positions to make tackles and to make plays.
One sack. No,
I
worst defensive rush last year, or 31st, whatever it was. And they knew going into this season, I need to create more pressure. And you get one sack. Now I'll hear the story and the theme that Detroit has a decent offensive line. I get that, but one sack. And you're saying they're bringing the blitzes. The blitz isn't what got them there on that one sack. It was the defensive line. But right. I hear you, and I'll try and be patient. I will, and I'll maybe lean towards it was, some rust, as we talked about earlier. But all right, play the game for you. I'll let you lead this one off.
Play the game. It's going to be not as big as you think, but it shows the maturation in Jalen Hurts as a passer a little bit. I still need to see a lot more of this. I think it was 3rd and 4. A.J. Brown coming up, slant route. Hurts got him the ball right between 2 defenders. It shows me that Hurts is capable.
It was tight.
It was tight. It was real tight. 2 Lions defenders converging.
Yeah.
And only A.J. Brown was able to get it. And it wasn't a wild throw. It was a good throw.
He was on his hip. Yep.
So I want to see more of that. If you get more of that, you get a better Jalen Hurts. Yeah, you have a good Eagles team moving forward. It's not a big play. It's not a flashy play. But the best throw I've probably seen him make, one of the best throws I've seen him make in his career.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good play. Mine's going to be, you said yours is little known. I'll say mine is from a little known guy. Zach Mcpherson made, to me, one of the biggest plays of the game in being able to secure the onside kick. There was a chance for a momentum swing there, and we all knew, maybe we didn't all know, but definitely the Eagles knew that's what Dan Campbell's going to do. He tries it often. He tries it in weird spots. And they did really coach it up well enough. And Zach Mcpherson was able to sit there. He didn't turn his back and start running. He waited for it, secured it. He also made a couple other big plays on special teams. But the play of the game for me was getting that ball. I think at the point we were only up 7 or so, then getting down there, scoring a touchdown on a short field. McPherson actually won NFC special teams player of the week. So I like that was huge for the Eagles. A little known player that does have some, people to leap to get into the lineup, but he's going to find his ways on special teams. I'm good with it. So all in all, Mark, I'm going to lead off. I'm going to end with what I led off with. I'm still there with a good win. You got anything else on this game?
No, I mean, there's, like I said, it was a lot of good things, bad things, good things, bad things. It evens out to a win. Regardless, it's a win. I hope they fix, they enhance the good things and fix the bad things. It's going to be interesting to see coming up this Monday night. I think it's a bigger test, and, obviously we're going to get into that, but
yep,
definitely interesting.
let's jump right into it. Here we go. Monday Night Football home opener down at the Link this Monday. Minnesota Vikings coming into town. And Mark, we had our kickoff last week where we talked about our NFL season predictions. And I cut a clip and I posted on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, from that show. I said, Minnesota's going to win a game against the Packers. The Eagles are going to win one ugly against the Lions. And that line's going to come in somewhere around that 2 to 3 range. Where are we today? 2.5.
Yep.
And it's going to feel like charity to me. And I'm telling you this in all honesty, not trying to be a homer, not trying to wear or paint my face green. But the fact of the matter is, if this game was played on week 1, this is a 4-5, maybe even 5.5, 6-point game. People are drinking the purple Gatorade. They are, rightfully so. I get it. Guess who stunk last year in week 1? Aaron Rodgers. So let's just take a pause for a second here and understand they should have won that game by 35, and they end up getting out there only winning by 16. Cousins had a good day, but it was more Jamar Jefferson running like insanely wide open. They didn't really play well on defense. They allowed the Packers to rush for 6.2 yards per carry, almost 120 yards. Dillon and Jones all found a lot of real estate when they were able to get the ball. More than not, though, they were passing, and that's kind of what maybe was the Packers' weak link. So for me, I'm not going to get into predictions or anything, but it's right where I saw this game lining up, and it's right where I think the temperature of the nation is right now, and that's purple, not green, because of what we saw in week 1. And I really think it's a good spot for the Eagles.
It is a good spot for the Eagles. I agree with you. I think that game was ugly. The Packers,
it was
Vikings game. It really was. So it's, I think with both the Eagles and the Vikings, I think it's going to be a true litmus test for both of them. I think this is where you're really going to see who is who. Like, you're going to see their real identities come this game. And I don't think either of those games, because I think the Eagles could have done a lot of things better, and they didn't. And I think the Packers underplayed that game. So I agree. I wholeheartely agree with your statement on it. I just saw this is ESPN, but the ESPN is the Eagles -2. Going into that Monday night game. It's a big game for the Eagles. They're home, prime time, Monday Night Football, September. I mean, it's going to be wild. It's going to be absolutely wild. With the house is going to be rocking. So it's going to be an interesting, like a really, really big, interesting, heavy atmosphere. Got to see how the Eagles play in front of their home, in front of their fans.
I agree, and when I look at it from a team perspective, you've got teams that want to attack in different ways. Obviously, Minnesota coming in there with, I think that was the Rams offensive coordinator as their head coach, Kevin
O'Connell.
Yeah, they definitely
brought their system over.
Yeah, they came in. You saw your doses of Dalvin Cook, but you didn't. You definitely saw that they wanted to try and exploit Green Bay, in the passing game, and they have trust in Kirk Cousins, and I think they'll do that again this week. Even though Swift had a good game against the Eagles, I think it lies in their passing game. And then on the other side, I think the Eagles are going to be committed to the run, and I think they saw some openings in that Minnesota defense. That Minnesota defense was in the bottom 5 or 6 in the league in both passing and rushing last year. Got a little bit better. Zaire Smith is over there now, and a few other key pieces. But in the end, I don't think they shorted up as much as they probably needed to. I don't know if they could have with cap implications with Cousins, Cook, and a few other big names. But I just think this is a good opportunity to we're going strength against strength. Well, let me say this: strength against weakness, strength against weakness in a way.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and
I like our offense. I like our offense against their defense and their offense against our defense. Like, it's just both two, I think, high-powered offenses are going to be going to battle.
Yes.
And here's the thing. Green Bay gave you the blueprint on what not to do against them. Because they're going to continue to throw the ball. Every Kirk Cousins team throws the ball. You have Justin Jefferson, who has the chance to be Cooper Kupp of last year. He really has that opportunity. He showed it, 9 for 184 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was open, wide open. I know they did a lot of the same stuff that they did in Los Angeles with Kupp, but it seemed like Green Bay was not covering him. This is where I'll give you. Jonathan Gannon's got to come with a different game plan. They got to play more press. They can't back off because you give Justin Jefferson a foot, he's going to take the whole field. It's just what's going to happen. Maybe they didn't, they weren't as afraid of DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I'm a huge fan of. But that being said, they, took them for granted a little bit. And really, they didn't have an amazing game in the air. Detroit, decent.
No,
I think they should have shut them down a little more. But really, it was DeAndre Swift who probably caused them the most issues in their running game. But with that being said, you have a really good receiving core, even down to Osborne, and you got Adam Thielen. So you have three really, really, really good receivers, and the best receiver in the league, Jalen Reagor.
Best punt catcher. He was great fair catches. He was
great fair catches.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really the blueprint is there. Look at what Green Bay did and do the opposite. If Jonathan Gannon can put 2 and 2 together and realize that that's got to be the game plan, I think we'll be okay. If they play any type of soft coverage where they're 10 yards or more off the line, forget about it. Justin Jefferson's going to have a field day on us.
Yeah, and I mean, like Slay, like he got beat on the who was it? It was Chark?
Yeah, the one that he was all over.
No, he's all over him. Sometimes you tip your cap, the perfect throw, perfect catch. It wasn't Gannon. It's Slay on that, right? Yeah. And I think
I remember seeing that. Like, how did that get in there?
Hey, and I think from this perspective, I'm not sure Gannon will do it, but I know he's got confidence in his nickel corner. I know he's got confidence in Bradbury. But I would have Slay follow him around.
Yeah,
I just would. Whether he does or doesn't. Yeah,
Bradbury can't hang with him speed wise on that.
No,
he's too.
You just gotta say, Slay, this is your day, right? This is your game. It's big scene, big Monday night, big talker. Got the and rightfully so. He's got the game. This is your time. It's Slay time, and I think we have an opportunity. And that's why I like your point there about Gannon. Putting them in the right position, because if you watch what Green Bay did, you got to do a little bit different. Green Bay has a couple of good cornerbacks, but they lost him in the slot. They lost him in the middle of the field. And I think we're a little bit better situated in that stance. Not that that happened. So I think we have a decent opportunity there to really, maybe you'll never take him out of the game. But I do think he's not going for 180. I think Slay's going to have something to say. Slay's biggest kryptonite is Metcalf, right? Very much different receiver than Jefferson. Metcalf wants to play you physically, wants to box you out. You saw a little bit of that Monday night.
He wants press coverage because he's going to beat it. He's too strong. Jefferson's not strong. Jefferson's elusive. He's quick. He's fast.
Absolutely. So then on the other side of the ball, I do. We talked about it, just the little tidbits, but I'll say it is, before I get into the offense, this game is so big from the Eagles on so many different perspectives. This schedule is not hard. Mark and I both have them just about 12 wins. I posted the other day. I'm settled in on 12. This is one of those games they can lose on the schedule. Not many they can lose.
Right.
If you win this game, I mean, the path to 12 and the path to potentially home field advantage in the NFC is there. I mean, it's that simple, and it's crazy to say that in week 2, but it just really is. And if they can just find a way to dial in this offense and do a little bit of what they did to Detroit, to Minnesota, and that's play with margin, play with space, play with a lead, I think the Eagles, look, Kirk Cousins, I forget the exact number. I think he's 2-7 on Monday Night Football. In prime time, it's just about as bad. Dude doesn't win big games. Just keep him away in the fourth quarter. And when he gets the ball late, he's going to give it to you. And I think if Jalen Hurts can play that type of efficient offense, good sharp throws, keep the chains moving. I'm not asking for 38 again. I know 38 was a lot. The Eagles ended up being the 5th most efficient team DVOA offensively, according to Pro Football Outsiders. I still think they can be that. They don't need 38 points. I see a big running game. I see 150-plus yards mixed in with Hurts, being able to get over 200 yards passing. And I see us being able to control the ball offensively once again.
I think there's going to be an opportunity where Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert have bigger games. I think this is an opportunity for them. I think if they have to do the same thing that we're telling, Jonathan Gannon to do. If you're Minnesota, all right,
Thank you.
one, you got to limit. You obviously you have to limit Hurts, and you have to be timely with your blitzes. You have to make sure you have a spy pretty much because Jalen Hurts is going to take off. But exactly, AJ Brown. Look,
Yep.
you want them to beat you. Want that? Let them beat you with Dallas Goedert. Let them beat you with Devontae Smith. Those two guys have to get involved too. Again, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. You don't want it to just be in one guy. Because if it's just the one guy who gets going and the others are stagnant, then you have a problem offensively and it's not going to work, especially when a defense, circles up on AJ Brown. So
Yep.
they should have a similar game plan to say, we're going to take Jalen or AJ Brown out of the picture. So now you got to focus on Devontae and Dallas. If you want to beat us that way.
And they can.
We're not going to let that happen.
And we know they can. We do.
Right.
We do know that Devontae, and he was great after the game. He was so appreciative of AJ Brown. But we know, and again, I've said this a few times, but I love your point about him being the show guy this Monday night because people aren't talking about him. People are a little down about him around here, but not nationally. They just aren't even talking about him.
No.
And the kid is special. I still believe this. He is special. He did catch one pass this week. It got called back because of penalty. And it was one where I just thought he just sucked that in so easily. Yeah. He was very good with his hands.
He turned in. He made it.
Yep. Give him the opportunity. So, all right, we get into it now. Just about, 2/3 of the way into the show. Who you got?
I have the Eagles in a slight edge. Honestly, I could see a similar type of score that we saw last Sunday. I think it's going to be high scoring. It's both the offenses. In the end, I think the Eagles make key stops. Like you said, Kirk Cousins is willing to give the ball away in the fourth quarter in prime time. I have 34-31 Eagles.
Yeah, I think it's potential for a high-scoring game too. I do think the Eagles win this. I did when the line dropped to 1.5. I jumped on it. It's back up to 2.5. Like I said, I think it stays below 3. I think you've got too much public action, too much Minnesota action, even some sharps on Minnesota. I get it out there, but I think it's going to stay right hard at 2.5. And I think this is a 3-point game, similar to their game in Detroit. The Eagles have shown a knack to somehow win these close games lately under Sirianni, and I maybe not quite as high scoring issue, but I do think it is a high scoring game. I'm going to give the Eagles a 27-24 win on Monday Night Football, and I just think Hurts coming out party. Look, I looked at a few sites today. People have the Eagles as the third favored Super Bowl winner right now, like behind Tampa, behind Buffalo. Even the Chiefs are behind us. Like the hype is real and the hype is there. A lot of that is surfaced around Dak Prescott getting hurt. I get it because that kind of frees up a path here. But the Eagles hype is real. And if it wants to stay real, they got to win Monday night. And they got to do it with a little bit of style. And I think that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
All right, bud. So last week we did it. We got our 3-packs going, right? And if I look back, I know I hit 2 and 1. I want to say you did
I was
the
1
same.
and 2.
1 and 2. Okay. Yep. I got it here. I think, looking at it, the Titans probably kind of screwed you at the end there. They did have that game in hand, and the Panthers obviously had that until a 58-yard field goal. Yep. And I laugh only to say this much. Every field goal kicker in the world missed a kick this week on the line, except the guy when they're playing Baker. Right. So Baker's cursed.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. But let's kick it off. You ready to do them?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll lead off with you.
All right. So we got to see Broncos country. Let's ride. Left wide. So this week, the Denver Broncos play the Houston Texans at home. They are 10-point favorites against the Texans. Give me the Houston football Texans. Look, they played Indianapolis good. We are looking at this Indianapolis team like Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. They hung with them. It was 2020. It was a tie. It was a tie.
It did.
So,
yep.
The Texans, they play tough with the team that they have. So honestly, the Broncos look terrible. They made a lot of key mistakes. I know it's probably going to be a bounce back game. I don't think this is an outright win for the Texans. I think the Broncos still win by a touchdown at this point, but with the -10 line, that's huge. And it's all the Russell Wilson effect. Give me the Houston Texans +10.
I was talking to a couple of people about this. Like, there's something about Russell Wilson. I can't put my finger quite on it. He's corny. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm glad he's not here. I saw him before the game. Like, I don't know what he was doing, like praising himself in the middle of the end zone. And it's just that guy had so many chances to win that game. And I understand his running backs fumbled the ball, but before that, he missed some passes to wide open receivers and had to settle for field goals. And his coach didn't even trust him enough to get a 4th and 4 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I'm off the Russell Wilson thing. They'll be all right. They'll win. They'll go 9-8, 10-7, something around there. But I'm fine with him not being here. I'm going to go with a team here that is very contrarian. You took them last week. I'm going to take them this week. I'm going to take those Carolina Panthers plus the 2. To me, this game, if you just sat here and watched what happened last week and you're all Giants up and you're all Brian Daboll'd up, you would say this should be a 5-6 point game. Why is it staying under a key number of 3? That's because Vegas knows. Vegas knows they're going to get tons of money flooding in on New York. They don't have to push this to the key number to get anybody to pump Carolina. I think they also know that Carolina's a little better of a team. Let's not forget a couple of the outfits out there had the New York Giants as a pretty bad team. Yes, they won. Yes, Saquon's back. Yes, Saquon will go loose a little bit this week, but it's still Danny Dimes. And we saw Brian Daboll scream at him on the sideline after an interception in the end zone, kind of, undress him, as some people would like to say. It's all fun and games. Got it. We're excited about the Giants. Got it. I think that's a good. I think look, there was a lot on the Panthers last week, and we're gonna F them up, as Baker tried to say. There was just too much of that. Now they can go back into the hole and be the team that's the underdog. I think they'll play better in this role. I don't think the Giants play well as faves. I'll take the Panthers +2.
Okay. So I've always known a phrase for a very long time. Never bet against a home dog.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers are a home dog.
Yes, they are.
Against the New England Patriots. New England Patriots did not look that good in Miami. I know that the Patriots have a history of losing. I think they lost 4 of their last 5 season openers, so I get it. They were bound to lose.
And lose every time in Miami. No matter season opener.
Miami.
Yeah.
And I know that the Steelers didn't look fantastic, but honestly, they gave a fight to Cincinnati in that win. I mean, they won, don't get me wrong, but then there were so many missed kicks there. I just don't know if New England is that good. I think how can I take them as it would make more sense if this game was a pick 'em. You give me 2 points at home with the Steelers, I'll absolutely take those points all day, every day.
Me and Tech Money were talking about it before even the New England game started last week. And listen, right now it's like Pats -1 or something, a week 2 line far out. Man, we really love the Steelers. The only concern why we didn't pump it now is the TJ Watt stuff. Yeah. But, Mac Jones doesn't look very good. But more importantly, I just don't like the Matt Patricia and, McDaniels being gone. There's a lack of kind of continuity with the Patriots right now. Yeah. That I'm just not really in love with. So I'm with you. I would lean towards the Steelers for sure. I like that pick. I'm going to go out west to a team that, again, probably is going to get dismissed and kind of is going to get some contrarian plays, and they're not going to get much love, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. They played in a monsoon. They played in an unfair area and lost their running back because of it, because they played on an absolutely unsafe field. But they still had to do their thing, and they didn't do their thing, up 10-0, and ended up losing 19-10 to the Bears. Now you got Seattle coming in. And now all of a sudden everybody thinks Geno Smith is Geno Smith of West Virginia days. And because Geno Smith had a cool quote at the end of the game that they wrote him off, but he ain't right back. Look, it's fun. And the 70-year-old running up and down the sidelines, chewing his gum 30,000 times a second is fun. but it doesn't equate in wins. I think the Niners show up this week. I think they take it to the Seahawks. There was just so much emotion last Monday night. Beat Russ was just so big to them, and they got it done. They were hugging. It was crazy. It looked like a Super Bowl. I just think that's a lot to carry over in a short week. Give me a Niners minus 8.5.
So this week there's a lot of road favorites. A lot
Yeah.
of favorites this week. Looking up and down. Indy is a -4 favorite at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Again, it's interesting. I honestly think that Jacksonville had a real chance to win that game against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Jaguars at home here, and I don't think it's outright. I think Indy still wins that game, but -4, that's a lot of points on the road when you tied. And I think Jacksonville had a better performance against Washington than Indy did against Houston.
I like your pick. My only thing here is I remember what happened in week 18 last year, and that's why Carson is wearing burgundy.
Right.
And it was a beatdown. So how do you handicap that? Is it that's the Jags mindset over the Colts and Frank Reich can't work around this, or do they use that as motivation? I don't know. I really don't know. I do think this game is close, and I'm with you. I don't think the Jags are far off. I think they can keep up offensively. So I would lean that way as well right now. I would. So I like the pick. I'm going to give you my last one, and I mean, I might as well give you all teams that people hate right now. And I hated this team at the beginning of the year anyway, but I'm gonna see some value in them right now. And that's the Arizona Cardinals getting 5.5 out in Las Vegas. Look, they got beat down. They got beat down pretty bad by the Chiefs. Right. And 44-21, I want to say, was the final, something in that range. And it wasn't even that close. And they scored a couple garbage touchdowns, one to Zach Ertz late. But here's what Vegas was last year: 7-1 in games decided by 6 points or less. And they were very good at creating close games. The blowouts that they had were usually them losing. And they had another close one this year, except that it fell on the other side. And now we're starting to see that balance come out. As they lost a 5-point game to the Chargers in week 1. Vegas is good. I still think they're decent. Carr threw 3 picks. That's the first time he's done that in, I think, 3 years. But Arizona is probably not as bad as we saw in week 1. And I think they got a good enough offense to keep up with the Raiders. And I think 5.5 is just a little much. If we remember this Arizona team last year, what were they off to? Like a 6-0 start. They beat the Titans in Tennessee to start the year. And I'm not in love with them. Don't get me wrong. I think the defense is really, really bad. But I do think that they can score enough points and really kind of stay within that 5.5, 6 range. Vegas just tends to play close games. And if this, I go back to that theory. If this was week 1 and we didn't get to see Arizona versus Kansas City, 2 3-point game. Yeah. Now I'm getting 3.5 more points than I expected. So I'll take the Cardinals.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about Arizona. I really think they might be that bad. I do.
But you picked me in the playoffs when I didn't.
Right.
It took one game. That's what I'm saying. Like, are they that bad, or is it?
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's really a toss-up. It could go either way. I feel like they are going to be a polarizing team one way or the other.
Yes, I agree. I think, when I was looking at it, you had them in second. But, it's tough. Like, we'll see. We'll see. Because are the Niners as good as I thought? They might not be. And then that's where this NFC West is definitely not the best division of football. And the NFC East may not be the worst, even though Cooper Rush is out there taking snaps. But, all right, let's get into the last couple minutes of this show and talk about the Phillies real fast. Like you said, really good stretch they got going on here, 7-1 since coming back from the West Coast. Another winning day for us in the Phillies. Getting down 1-0 earlier, similar to what they did against Alcantara yesterday. Today, the Edward Cabrera, who is a nice young pitcher that's going to do some good things. But they got Harper to tie it up. Real Muto came back with a back-to-backer, go up 2-1, knock him out, and the rest is history as they win 6-1. Kyle Gibson actually showed up and pitched a good game, and that's the Kyle Gibson I know. He either lets up 1 or 8, and I just don't even know what to expect anymore. But Falter had a good game yesterday, allowing just 1 run. The Phillies, if not for nothing, they've really, really dominated the bad teams. And I love it. I love does that mean that they're going to win the World Series? No. Does that mean that they're primed to beat a team like the Dodgers? No. But in years past, this is what we always were scared about. And they're
Right.
doing it now. The Marlins were our Achilles heel. Not anymore. Miami playing there. It was a bad place, a house of horrors at times. Not anymore. I think we've won almost every game there this year. I think we have 2 losses in Miami. So
Five straight series wins against the Marlins this year. It's the first time that the Phillies have done that, I think, maybe ever in their existence, or it's been a very long time that they are just not able to stretch it out against the Marlins. And they've been a better team than the Marlins for quite some time, standings wise. But yes, they're finally beating them because they were a huge, the past 3 years, like before this year. They would always be you lose, you go 1-2 against them like consistently, or get swept by them when you're, making a run. Like they would be the ones to stop you. Now you've turned the tables. You're taking 2 of 3 with them easily again. And the thing is, we've seen it some way, somehow. It gives me promise for the future against a good young pitcher like Sandy Alcantara. Is it Alcantara or Alcantara? Either way.
So I've heard it both ways, but a lot of times I keep hearing Alcantara lately, and that's come from Tom McCarthy.
Okay. So Alcantara, they find a way to win against him. They're not beating him up, but they get late into the game. 6th, 7th, 8th inning is when they do their damage on him. And really, they've shown he's got a really good ERA, and they're the ones who are providing late runs against him. They're able to and that's something that I've said that I've liked about this Phillies lineup is they wear on you, just like the teams of old, the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They wore you down. It's the first 5 innings of the game are nauseating. A good starting pitcher goes through the lineup twice and can't even hit the ball out to mid center field. But then you get them the third time around, and you just a bloop hit here, a single there. Just like last night with Segura hitting that blooper to get on, and then Mayton comes up and hits the homer. Like they just wear you down. You're never out of it with this lineup right now. You're never out of it. Any guy can come up and play for you. So it's been something really nice to see this year. I agree. Is this a team that's going to beat the Dodgers in a 3-game series? I doubt it if that were to, ever be the case, even though that we won't play them in the beginning. But with that being said, they give you some hope. And like you said, also beating the bad teams is something we haven't been able to do. We didn't do it last year. Again, I got afraid a couple weeks ago when we played the Diamondbacks because it happened last year. When they lost to the Diamondbacks last year, the season was over. That was it. They just slid. They've been picking themselves back up. But this is what you get with a team that's pretty inexperienced when it comes to the postseason, and a team that just hasn't been there in a while.
Yep.
But they're picking themselves back up. And that's what matters. And you're getting it from the top of the lineup and the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, when we came into this Marlins series, I saw Alcantara falter. I saw Cabrera Gibson. I saw Syndergaard Lopez. I said, if we get one, I might get happy. We're getting out there with at least 2, maybe even 3 tomorrow with some momentum. So it is good. I saw another cool thing with Alcantara. Out of all the teams he's faced this year, anyone that's seen him multiple times, nobody has scored more than 2 runs in every game against him, except the Phillies. The Phillies have seen him 6 times, scored at least 2 runs in every game. Mets got him once or twice, but then he shut him out too. Only other team that I think Seattle saw him just once and put up 4 or 5 against him. He's a Cy Young, and he's going to get it. And the Phillies have been really they've been good against him. And, you got to tip their cap because in years past, again, we go back even, when we had the tough series in New York recently when DeGrom was like no hitting us for a while. And, we got no hit by the Mets even earlier this year. Sometimes the better pitching gets us, not in this case. And that's why I've been impressed. He's 1-3 against us in 6 starts this year. So kudos to the Phillies. And now here comes the tough part, right? I know they got one more series, I think this weekend, maybe with Washington one more time. And then, oh no, it's the Braves. We go right into the Braves.
Braves and Toronto, I think.
Yep. And then back to the Braves. And then it's Cubs, Washington. And then we end the season with the Astros. I still think the number we're still sitting pretty solid. If you look at it, we're ahead of San Diego now in the
Sure.
wild card standings, and we have a little bit of margin on them. We're actually got 2.5 on them,
Mm-hmm.
4.5 down on the Brewers,
Yep.
5 in the loss column. I feel like it's a wrap. We're in, right? But I still think we need to go in with a little momentum. So,
Yeah.
are you hearing anything about Zach Wheeler?
It sounds like he could be back soon. I forget when it was. The problem was he was supposed to be back, like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And obviously it delayed, but honestly, more rest at this point. They've been able to make it without him. Yeah, I think.
I heard he was even arguing he shouldn't have gone on. It was forearm tightness, and he could have like got through it. But in the end, yeah, I think it. And now that we're sitting there at 7, 8, and 1 in our last 9, it's okay. But I do need him to pitch 1, maybe 3 times before the postseason. I feel 2 okay, but definitely if I
I
could
was
get him
going to
3
say you
times,
need at least 2. That would
yeah,
feel better about that. I'm looking to see where we're at.
I agree. And 7 and 3 in last 10, so it is 7 and 1. But yeah, those are the kind of pieces I want to see. Nola, we got a decent start out of last week. We talked about that already. And just the induction, like I think Harper's starting to feel it. He's starting to see it. His 100th career home run as a Philadelphia Philly tonight, which puts him, I think, 27th all time on the list. But anyway, that was a huge home run. And you got a chance with this lineup when he's starting to see it and hit it. The only concern I had tonight, Reese Hoskins got hit on the right arm.
He did.
Hopefully it's just a bruise, but you always get concerned because those bones are small in there, right
Yeah.
around the wrist.
I mean, it's unfortunate. Well, one thing I looked up the Wheeler thing. He could pitch as soon as Tuesday.
Okay, good.
So that hopefully would get him 3 starts by the time the season's over. Hoskins is still a maddening player to me. Obviously, you want to have the more guys, the better.
Yep.
If they have to go without him, look, they were able to bring in Sosa. Sosa played third. They moved Baum to first. It's not the worst thing in the world.
No,
Sosa's
not at all.
playing very well for us.
Well, and definitely defensively, but he's also popped a couple that were
Right.
surprising because we don't rely on that bat.
Right. I mean, but it's not just home runs. He's getting singles. He's getting doubles. He's humble, and he's doing a lot for you. And I think he's making the most of this opportunity. It was a very low end move. It was before the gist of the trade deadline was going on.
Under the radar.
He's made an impact. He's made an impact.
Yeah, love it. That's Dombrowski at his best, right? Finding those guys that he thinks fits his team in an area that he really needed it.
Yep.
All right. Listen, I know the Sixers made a quick move, so why not as well brush over it. They made it official today. Montrezl Harrell is here to be the backup center. Trez is better than Drummond to me from a situation where I think he gives you some added dimensions that Drummond doesn't. Drummond's great on the boards, got it.
He's a better all-around center.
He is.
He's more of a scorer.
But I can't stand the guy. I really, really can't stand the guy. I think he's a knucklehead, and I really have concerns that he's worse than Dwight Howard when it comes to like refs wanting to blow a whistle on this guy and tee him up. I hope Doc can find a way to just reel that in a little bit. I know he was Maury's boy. Like we got another Maury, disciple, but look, it makes us better. It does. I'm not giving you a complaint. I'm just giving you. I really don't love the way he plays. I just don't.
I'm good with the move. I think it's, they have done it for the 3rd year in a row. They got a viable backup center.
Yeah.
Well, Embiid. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely want to see the progression of Paul Reed and
that's what I'm kind of
Charles
Reed and Bassey, right?
I get it, but they don't fit that. Neither of them have put themselves in the position to be that dependable backup center. I get it. I know that at some point you have to see, because I think Reed doesn't have as big of a body frame, but Reed has more of a hustle. But he honestly would probably be better off as a power forward. But then again, doesn't move well enough to be a power forward. So my thing is, if you really are trying to compete for a championship and you have one of the best players in the league who can get into foul trouble, you need somebody who can legitimately play offense, legitimately rebound for you, legitimately play defense without getting into foul trouble too quickly. Again, I know you made the point about Harold
He's just
getting into foul trouble, like the refs looking to call the whistle on him. But if he can be, like, I think he gives you a lot more than Paul Reed does at this point. You have to go with it, and they've addressed it. I think they need to make sure with Embiid's injury history, you need to have somebody that can do this, and it's somebody who's played with Harden before. I
will say, if you ever needed to start someone, I want Harold more than I want Reed.
Absolutely.
But was I more comfortable with Reed getting 10 minutes and Harold getting 10? Yeah, I was fine. So it'll be interesting for the long term. I'm good. I get it. And that you had that exception to play that ticket to be able to sign him and bring him in. Let's just hope he comes in with a little bit more
quality.
Yeah, I know he's not going to be humble. I'm not looking for that, but I'm looking because I want the fiery play, but just a little bit more heady. Yeah,
He looks like he's excited to be here, though. So we'll see.
Yep, a little bit smart.
It's better than where he's been the past couple of,
Oh yeah, ended in Washington, and he was definitely.
I think did he end in Charlotte or no? Did he go from Charlotte to Washington or Washington to Charlotte?
I just remember him and Joel Embiid like almost button heads, but maybe you could be right. He might have ended up in Charlotte, but
he spent the season between those two teams.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting. Sixers kicking off camp in I think 8 days. It's really close here. So
everybody's been back in the building.
Yeah,
Harden's back, and Embiid's been back. It's good to see they're getting there ahead of time.
Yeah, it's great to see. All right, that wraps it up for an hour of action-packed Philly 4-for-4 plus so much more. I was going to get into some Torch stuff. I read a great article about him the other day, and we'll definitely touch some Flyers next week as they're starting to lace them up. But before then, we'll be back next week for another hour of action-packed Philly sports, and we'll be going over the Vikings-Eagles game for sure. Looking at the Phillies, 2 tough teams coming up. Mark already talked about it with the Braves and then the Blue Jays. So it's going to be a great show next week. Tune in. Until then, I'm Dave. That's Mark. We're 4th and Go, and we are out for the Heat Ratio Sports Network.